Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you've carved out this time today. The simple act of pressing play on this video or arriving here in this ARC TV room means that you're actively prioritizing your healing in a world that rarely encourages that. And that choice is a beautiful, powerful act of self-care. Before we open today's teaching, let's step together out of the rushing current of daily life. Wherever you are right now, you have full permission to simply stop. For this period of time, you don't need to fix anything, you don't need to plan anything, and you don't need to carry anyone else's needs. This is your sanctuary. This time belongs entirely to you. So I invite you to gently close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If it doesn't feel safe or comfortable, you can simply soften your gaze and let your eyes rest on a quiet point in the room or on your hands. Let your hands rest softly in your lap, palms facing upward if you feel open to receiving, or palms facing downward if you need a little more grounding. Let's take a few minutes for a full body check-in, a deliberate physical signal to the nervous system that in this moment you are safe. Together, let's take a deep, slow breath in through your nose, drawing the air down into your diaphragm, letting your stomach expand like a balloon, and exhale completely through your mouth with a soft, audible sigh. As you exhale, allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears. Again, draw in a deep, nourishing breath, gathering any tension, any hurry, any frustration that followed you here into this space, and then exhale. As you exhale, imagine that energy is flowing down your arms, out through your fingertips, and dissolving into the space around you. One more time. The deepest, most intentional breath you've taken all day. Hold gently at the top for a brief moment, and then slowly exhale. Now let the breath return to its own natural rhythm. Bring your awareness to the top of your head. Allow the tiny muscles in your forehead to soften and smooth. Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Notice the muscles around your eyes. They don't have to stay on high alert. For this moment, they're allowed to rest. Let attention move down into your neck and shoulders. Many of us carry the weight of the world here. You don't have to drop it completely. Just see if it's possible for that weight to soften by even a few degrees. Breathe into your chest, allowing it to gently open. Feel the rise and fall of your ribs. Notice whatever is present in your heart space. Tightness, heaviness, warmth, emptiness, and let it be exactly what it is without needing to fix it. Bring your awareness into your stomach. So many of us carry anxiety and bracing here. Let your belly soften. Allow the abdomen to unclench. It's safe for these moments to let this part of the body relax. Now, notice your hips and lower back. Feel the support of the chair, the couch, or any surface beneath you. You don't have to hold yourself up. Let the furniture or the floor carry your weight. Let your attention move down through your legs, your thighs, knees, your calves, feeling the heaviness and support there. And finally, bring your awareness all the way to your feet. Notice the points of contact with the floor or whatever is beneath them. Sense the steadiness, the support. You are supported. You are secure right here, right now. You are safe. If thoughts drift in, simply notice them and gently guide your attention back to your breath, back to your body, back to this moment. As you rest here, you can recall that you've already begun important work. Many of us have started to look at our kitchens with new eyes. We're, we're experimenting with clearing countertops, with moving unprocessed proteins and complex carbohydrates to places where our eyes land first. We've started to see that our environment is not neutral, that our spaces either inflame our midbrains or help them rest. For some, those shifts have felt encouraging. For others, they have brought up overwhelm, sadness, or a sense that there is so much to change. Every one of those responses is part of the process. They're information, not verdicts. If you're carrying tension today about what got done or didn't get done, you can use your next exhale to let a little of that pressure soften. In this community, we operate with data and compassion. We're aiming for progress, not perfection. Your brain and your body are not on trial here. They are being supported. When you feel ready, gently open your eyes and return to the room. Today, we're going deeper into one of the most challenging parts of this journey, what it means to heal in spaces that we share with other people. Most of us don't live inside a perfectly controlled environment. We share our homes with spouses, partners, children, roommates, extended family, or caregivers. Every person in that home has their own story with food, their own coping patterns, their own level of awareness about the engineered food environment. As a community, we're making a courageous decision to heal. We're learning how our midbrains have been hijacked for years or decades. We're learning that repeated exposure to highly processed starches, sugars, and fats keep craving pathways inflamed and exhaust the frontal lobe. We're learning to create safety zones by deliberately reducing the cues that constantly pull us toward relapse. And at the same time, many of the people we live with are still fully immersed in mainstream patterns. They're still surrounded by advertising, convenience choices, and cultural norms that normalize disease and dismiss its causes. They genuinely may not know what we now know. Because of this gap in understanding, it's very common for loved ones, without meaning to harm us, to bring powerful triggers right back into the spaces we're trying to make safe. We might carefully clear a counter, rearrange a pantry, and feel a rare moment of calm in the kitchen, and then watch as someone we love walks in with a brightly colored bag, sits down at the island, opens it, and begins to eat. At that moment, two strong forces hit the nervous system. First, craving is triggered. The midbrain is activated by sight, sound, and smell. Years of conditioning wake up quickly. Craving chemistry is released long before we have a chance to think through a plan. Second, stress is triggered. Thoughts like, why would they do this right in front of me? Don't they see what I'm going through? Can flood in. Feelings of being unseen, unsupported, or even sabotaged can land hard. Craving plus stress is a potent combination. Stress pulls resources away from the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that helps us to pause, to choose, and to regulate, right when craving is loudest. When we understand this, so many why did I do that moments start to make sense. What often looks like a character failure is actually a predictable neurological setup. Many of us are also doing this work while living with significant symptoms: brain fog, physical pain, fatigue, mood swings. On those days, just feeding ourselves, just attending a session, just getting through basic tasks is a full-time job. Expecting ourselves to also lead a full behavioral revolution for an entire household is more than unrealistic. It's unsustainable. And when we see this clearly, it becomes easier to understand why we feel so tired, so discouraged, or so overwhelmed when we try to control everything and everyone. It's not because we're weak. It's because the load is simply too heavy. Naming that is an act of honesty. And from that honesty, we can begin to put down some roles that were never really ours to carry. One of those roles is the role of convincer, the idea that it's our job to persuade our entire household to change their behavior around food while we're still in the early stages of healing. We don't have to be the enforcer, the educator, and the neuroscientist for everyone under our roof. Trying to do that on top of healing is too much for any one person. Part of why this role is so exhausting is that it rarely works the way we hope. In our culture, food is never just food. Food is comfort, reward, it's ritual, it's nostalgia, it's distraction, it's a sense of belonging. And when we tell someone we love that their favorite foods are engineered to hijack their brain, most nervous systems do not hear, here is neutral information. They hear, your comfort is being threatened, or your way of coping is under attack, or you're wrong. When people feel judged, shamed, or cornered, the most natural response is to defend. We may hear things like, you're overreacting. Everyone eats this. I'm fine. Or don't tell me what to eat. That pushback is often a form of self protection more than deliberate cruelty. And if we keep pushing and they keep defending, the kitchen and the living room can start to feel like battlegrounds. Every conversation at the table feels loaded. Our own stress rises. And as we've already seen, chronic stress is one of the strongest internal triggers for lapses. So it's not only okay, it's actually wise to step out of the role of household persuader and step back into the role that truly belongs to us here, a member of a healing community, a student of our own recovery. Our primary responsibility is our nervous system, our environment, and our connection to support. We don't have to carry the full burden of everyone else's behavior and beliefs. One of the reasons the ARC ecosystem exists is so that none of us has to do this alone. We don't have to be the main source of science and guidance in our homes. We can let the community speak. A gentle, powerful way to do this is through inclusive passive exposure. Inclusive means no one is singled out as the problem. Everyone is welcome to listen or not at their own pace. Passive exposure means the information is present in the environment without direct confrontation. In practice, this might look like logging into ARC TV and placing the device on the counter while we prepare a meal. Letting a daily podcast play in the background while we fold laundry in a shared space. Listening to a session on speaker while riding in the car with a family member or caregiver. In those moments, the people we live with hear new ideas. They hear stories and science, but they're not being directly told what to do. We're not pausing the video to say, did you hear that? That's what I've been trying to tell you. We're simply allowing a different conversation to exist in the home. They may hear calm, grounded voices explaining how the engineered food environment affects the brain. They may catch parts of stories about brain fog lifting or joint pain easing, metabolic markers changing. They may hear that people just like them have seen profound changes by removing certain inputs from their daily lives. Because the message is coming from a wider community rather than just from us in the heat of a family moment, it can bypass some of the automatic defensiveness. There is no argument to win or lose. There's just repeated contact with a new way of understanding. And over time, small shifts can begin to appear. A partner might ask, what did they mean by that part about cravings? A teenager who claimed not to be listening might reference something they heard. A caregiver might quietly choose a different product at the store because something stuck. We don't have to control the pace of these changes. Our work is to keep showing up for our own healing and keep allowing the community's voice into our shared spaces when it feels appropriate, and to let the science and the stories do the heavy lifting. For many of us, caregivers are central to this work. Some of us rely on others to shop for groceries, prepare meals, manage medications, or decide which media is playing in the home. When that's true, our caregiver's understanding isn't a side issue, it's part of our core treatment plan. Unprocessed proteins and complex carbohydrates can support our metabolic healing. Gentle, consistent engagement with calm, supportive content can help soothe and rewire our craving pathways. But these tools only work if caregivers know why they matter and are willing to offer them. Without that understanding, caregivers may keep buying highly processed grains and manufactured dairy because they're convinced they're convenient or they're familiar or they're cheaper. They may continue to serve foods that actively inflame the pathways we're working so hard to calm without realizing the impact. They may turn on loud, chaotic television or media, not recognizing how deeply that agitates an already stressed nervous system. This is often not intentional harm. It's simply what they've been taught and what they know. Inviting caregivers into the ARC environment can reshape this. Sometimes this sounds like, this program explains what's going on in my body in a way that really helps me. Would you be willing to watch this short video with me? Sometimes it's as simple as having ARC TV on while they prepare meals or do tasks nearby, allowing them to absorb the information at their own pace. As caregivers begin to see that these aren't diet preferences, but brain and body level interventions, their choices can begin to change. They may realize that bringing home whole, unprocessed foods is an act of medical support, not a luxury. They may recognize that choosing calmer, more regulated content instead of stressful media is part of stabilizing our nervous systems rather than an optional extra. For some members of this community, caregiver understanding can be the difference between staying trapped in an illness maintaining environment and finally living in a space that supports remission. It's worth our creativity and intentionality. And at the same time, we need to tell the truth that not every household member or caregiver will be willing to engage with this, at least not right away. Some may refuse to listen. Some may cling tightly to their current habits, especially if those habits have been their primary comfort for a long time. Some may minimize or mock the changes that we're trying to make, not because they don't care, but because our healing asks questions of their own patterns. When that's our reality, the grief is real, the anger is real, the loneliness is real. There's nothing wrong with us for feeling those things. And even in that painful dynamic, we aren't powerless. If our physical environment is not yet supportive, we can lean more fully into our digital safe zone. This is where proactive digital shielding becomes one of our greatest strengths. Proactive digital shielding means using our devices on purpose to surround ourselves with healthy, mirroring, and accurate information, especially during the times and in the places where our physical environment is most triggering. For example, if evenings in the living room are difficult because others are eating engineered foods nearby, we can plan ahead to have ARC TV ready, headphones within reach, and a specific session or video chosen before that time comes. If a particular chair, room, or corner is visually full of cues that we can't change, we can overlay that space with the faces and voices of our community, choosing who and what our nervous system will mirror while we're physically sitting there. When someone sits beside us with a brightly colored package, we don't have to watch them eat. We don't have to fight about it. We can quietly put on our headphones, open a device, and step mentally and emotionally into a different room where people understand what we're trying to do. From the outside, it may look like someone watching a video. Inside, it's a radical act of self protection and alignment. We're choosing which environment will train our brain, the one on the couch or the one on the screen. And every time we do this, we send a clear message to the nervous system. You are not alone. There are others walking this path. There are models of health and recovery available to you right now. That message has real, measurable effects on our sense of safety and on our ability to stay on this path. Digital shielding doesn't erase the pain of living with unsupportive patterns, but it does keep that pain from being the only influence. It allows us to continue healing even when the people around us are not ready to move yet. As we close this teaching, we can turn what we've explored into a few clear, compassionate steps. Number one, let's plan connection where it's needed the most. Look gently at the rhythm of your day and notice the times and places that feel the hardest. Meal times, evenings, certain shared spaces or activities. Choose one or two of those moments and deliberately place ARC connection there. An ARC TV session, a daily podcast, a short video that steadies you. Treat that connection as part of your care, not as an extra. Number two, offer one gentle invitation. Think of one household member or caregiver who feels safe enough to invite. Consider asking them to listen to a small piece of this world with you. 10 or 15 minutes of a video or a talk that feels especially clear. The invitation can sound something like, I've been learning some really interesting science about how the food environment affects the brain. I'd love for you to hear this one part with me and then let the community do the talking. There's no need to check whether they got it or to turn it into a debate. Number 3, use inclusive passive exposure where direct invitations aren't possible. Let sessions play in shared spaces when it feels okay, while you cook, while you fold laundry, or when you're resting. Allow others to overhear without pressure. Simply let a different conversation exist in the home. And number 4, reflect on boundaries and freedom. When you have a quiet moment, you might sit with this reflection. If the people I live with choose not to understand my journey right now, how can I lovingly release the need to convince them? How will I use the art community to protect my own safe zone, even if that means putting my headphones on in the same room? And you might also explore, where am I still holding responsibility for other people's choices? What does it look like practically to honor my healing, even if I'm the only one in the house making those changes right now? There is no correct answer. There's only honesty, gentleness, and space for what's true for you. Before we finish, let's take a few moments to let everything we've explored today settle into the body. I invite you to find a comfortable position if you haven't already, and let your hands rest wherever they feel most at ease, on your lap, by your sides, or gently folded together. If it feels safe, you can close your eyes. If not, you can simply soften your gaze and let your eyes rest on one quiet point in the room. Let's begin with one slow, gentle breath together. Breathing in through the nose, letting the chest and belly expand, and a long, easy exhale through the mouth. As the breath returns to its natural rhythm, bring your attention to the simple fact that you are here right now, not in yesterday's choices, not in tomorrow's worries, just here in this moment. You might notice the contact points of your body, the weight of your hips on the chair, your feet on the floor, the way your back is supported. Let your body lean just a little more fully into that support. We've spent this time talking about our households, our environments, and the people we share life with. For a moment, let's gently turn toward ourselves with that same care. If it helps, you can place one hand on your chest and maybe one hand on your abdomen. Feel the warmth of your own touch. Feel the movement of each breath beneath your hands. Silently, you might say to yourself, I am learning. I am allowed to be in process. I don't have to carry this alone. Notice how those words land in your body. If they feel distant, That's okay. If they feel true, that's okay too. The practice is simply to offer them. Now, bring to mind one thing from this session that felt supportive. It might be an idea, a phrase, a sense of being understood, or just the feeling of not being alone. Let that one thing become the focus for a moment, as if you're turning up the volume. Allow yourself to imagine carrying that one supportive thread with you into the rest of your day, into your kitchen, your living room, your conversations. You don't have to remember every detail. That one thread is enough. Let's take 2 more slow breaths together. Breathing in, feeling the body expand, and breathing out, allowing the body to soften. And again, breathing in and breathing out. When you feel ready, you can gently wiggle your fingers and your toes and maybe roll your shoulders and slowly open your eyes, letting the room come back into focus. Thank you for being here for this teaching. Thank you for doing this work in real homes with real families, real histories, and real complexity. We're not practicing this in a lab. We're practicing it in kitchens and living rooms and bedrooms where life is messy and layered. You're not doing that work alone. Each time you show up to learn, each time you shift one item, extend one invitation, choose to plug into ARC TV instead of engaging in a painful argument, you're strengthening your protective shield. You're stepping out of patterns that were never designed for your well-being and slowly building environments, physical and digital, that reflect the kind of care your nervous system has always deserved.